Have a cooperative party game. Really clever ideas. I haven't actually played it. I did some math. We've now gone through 163 games, 47 of which I don't know how to play. My wife tells me I have too many games. This may be the first time I've started to wonder if she's right. But don't worry, I've dismissed that thought as crazy. So, we have X-Wing, the miniatures game, a really cool game that I've played several games with the basic ships for. Would really like to play more with more ships. In fact, I have a few more ships. I just can't seem to get it to the table. I think because it's 2 players only. Armada. Really excited to play Armada. I love the idea of capital ship combat in the Star Wars universe. Have never gotten that one to the table. It makes me so sad. I've read the manual. I theoretically know how to play it, but I haven't gotten a chance to. Ascension. I have 2 big box sets and 2 small box sets. Ascension was my first deck builder. I've never played Dominion. I know that makes me a bad person. I know everybody hates the art in Ascension, but I like it. We have Devastation of Endines. This is a card-based fighting game. Really clever. Like other level 99 games, there is a truly obscene amount of content in that box, most of which I have not scratched the surface of. Pitch Car is a dexterity racing game with flicking. It was a huge hit at last year's convention. Really well made, and as a result, kind of expensive, but highly recommended. Everybody loves Pitch Car. Memoir 44, a great 2-player sort of entry-level war game, World War II theme, really good. 5 Tribes. 5 Tribes is like Mancala on steroids. I really like 5 Tribes, and I like the expansion for 5 Tribes. I'm not so wild about the slave cards for 5 Tribes, which may be hypocritical of me. I don't know, but I got the Fakir replacement cards, and that's what I use. Ticket to Ride. I avoided getting Ticket to Ride because it was so mainstream and so many people had it, and it just seemed too light for me. I've played it a couple times now after it was given to me, and it's a good game. It's simpler than I really like to play a lot of times, but a lot of people really like it, and they have every right to. Small World is a great entry-level area control game with chits, where you take over different sections of the world, and then you have to sunset that race and pick up a new race, and that does a good job of kind of keeping everybody from getting too locked into their positions so that people keep having fun. And that's the point. Okay. Up here, we've got Madeira, which looks really good. Heavy Euro game. I haven't played it. We have Dragon and Flagon, which is kind of the opposite. It is a board game about a tavern brawl. Haven't played it. We have Carnival Zombie, which was a Grail game. Think of it as Castle Panic, if you know Castle Panic. But a lot more complicated. You are 6 characters moving through Venice after the Leviathan has surfaced and zombified most of the population. Every night you stand back to back and hold off the horde, and during the day you advance through the city, collecting resources, building barricades, and attempting to reach one of several different escape options, each with its own minigame. So here we have the Pathfinder adventure game, card game. I need to give this one another try too, because I haven't really developed an appreciation for it. But I like the idea of a kind of Dungeons and Dragons style game played in the form of a accessible deck builder. Alright, I can't believe you've made it this far. You, sir or madam, are a gentleman or gentle lady and a scholar. I can't believe I've made it this far and I'm still talking. My voice is getting hoarse. Okay. So we have Hamburgum, a rondel game by Matt Gertz that has little tiny bells as a resource. It's supposed to be really good. I really want to play it. I've read the rule book. I have not played it yet. We have NTK2, another rondel game by Matt Gertz that I want to play and haven't played. We have Concordia, one of my favorite games, an absolutely brilliant game by Matt Gertz. Don't be put off by the incredibly dull cover. Just trust me on this. It's awesome. You should be playing it. We've got Power Grid. Power Grid is another entry in the everybody says this is awesome, but I don't get it game collection. Although really I need to give it another shot. It's an auction game with area control aspects. Maybe I'm just not an auction game guy. We have Medina, which is an abstract game about building the city of the same name. Beautiful wooden pieces, a gazillion of them. Really neat as you're building up a physical city out of these pieces. Got kind of a chicken mechanic where you're building buildings, and the bigger the buildings, the more points they're worth at the end. But once somebody claims them, they can't be added to anymore. Okay. Down here, we've got War of the Ring. Supposedly an amazing two-player war game in the Lord of the Rings universe. I haven't played it yet. We have Ice Cool, a great, accessible dexterity game where you are penguins running around a penguin high school trying to collect fish, which apparently hang down from door jambs for some reason. And one penguin in each round is the hall monitor who is trying to bump into you and steal your hall pass. Really fun. The pieces, instead of being flat discs like most flicking games, are weighted penguins that kind of wobble on their base, which means you can do some really interesting trick shots if you're actually good at it, which I am not, but it's still worth playing. Galaxy Defenders is kind of XCOM Tactical Skirmish Combat, the board game. That's why I own it, because I love XCOM. I haven't played this very much. I played some of it, but not enough to really get a feel for it. Through the Ages. This is the New Story of Civilization edition. Some people love this game. Some people hate this game. I haven't played this game. I want to. I have Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe is an unbelievably hard but unbelievably cool cooperative game by Ignacy Trzewiczek. It has 6 or 7 different scenarios in the box, each of which uses the components in a fairly different way. I've only played the first scenario, but I've played it maybe 4 times, and I am incredibly proud to say that I have beaten the first scenario with my family. We are still incredibly proud to this day, which tells you just how hard this game is. Alright, we have Climate Evolution. It's fun. It's a game where you're building up your different species and giving them different evolutionary traits to try and outcompete other players' species for food. It's okay. The art is cool. I guess maybe based on the size of the box, I was expecting there to be a lot more game there than there is. There's nothing wrong with it. I think I just tend to trend heavier in what I like. Okay. Shipyard. This is a rondel game with 3, maybe 4 rondels. It's a new addition to the collection. I'm excited to play it. I haven't yet. We have Zhanguo. I think this is a heavier Euro with a Chinese theme. I don't know that much about it beyond that. It was a gift. I haven't researched it enough, but it looks really cool. I really want to learn it. I haven't. Arkham Horror. This game is really cool when it's good, and it's really frustrating when it's bad. It's very Ameritrash in that there are a lot of dice rolls. There's a lot of other random elements that can make for a really thematic rich game or an incredibly frustrating one. And it depends a lot on your luck what happens. I hear Eldritch Horror is better, but I already had Arkham Horror when Eldritch Horror came out, and I'm having a tough time justifying getting another version of Arkham Horror, even if it's a better version. So that's kind of where I am with that. Alright. Then up here we have Space Cadets Dice Duel. This is really cool. It's a real-time team versus team dice rolling Spaceship Battle Fest. I've only played it once, and we had uneven teams in terms of number of players, so it really wasn't fair to the game. I liked it, but this is another one I got to play with people on last year's board game weekend, and it didn't actually end up getting played. Mage Wars. This is, if you like Magic the Gathering, you'll probably like Mage Wars. Mage Wars is like Magic the Gathering, where you can pick any card in your deck to play, assuming you have the resources at any given time, and it has a spatial element, sort of Summoner Wars-esque, where you're moving your summoned creatures and yourself around the board, trying to gain an advantage. Really, really cool. Xayah, Legends of a Drift System. This game is super cool, and it is super random. It has a roll-to-move mechanic. It has dice rolls that can instantly destroy your ship, but it's a sandbox game where you can be a trader, you can be an explorer, you can be a mercenary, you can be a pirate. There's so much to like about this game. It has miniatures for all the different ships. All the different ships have different special abilities, and you take the special abilities with you when you upgrade your ship. We always seem to play short learning games of this. I think I'd like it a lot better if we played longer games, but we always seem to be teaching somebody. I really want to play more of this. Myth. Myth has problems. I bought it before I knew it had problems. Then I found out it had problems. Then I found out that they were doing a second edition. Then I had to track down the second edition reprinted cards and manual. I have since done that. At no point have I actually played the game. I read the manual for the first edition, and then I heard about the problems. So I really, really, really want this game to be good. After all of this, I just need to actually play it. Okay. Level 7, Omega Protocol. This is also sometimes referred to as XCOM, the board game, or Aliens, the board game. It's a campaign-based 1v1 or 1v-many, depending where one person is playing all the bad guys and one person or several other people are playing Marines who are infiltrating this base and blowing things apart. The more things the Marines do, the more resources the bad guy has to marshal his alien forces. Haven't played it. But it looks really cool. The miniatures are really frustrating in terms of being that really soft plastic. They were all warped when I opened the box, and it took me a while to do the hot water, cold water thing to reshape them. And they're still not perfect, but they're better. That was frustrating. But anyway, it's ready to play now. I really want to play it. I just haven't. Descent. Descent is really good, and I was really enjoying it, and then the group that I was going through the campaign with kind of fell apart, so I haven't played much of it since, but it is a sort of halfway between a board game like, say, Hero Quest and a much more complicated actual RPG like Dungeons & Dragons. It's got lots of fun miniatures, lots of fun art, fun campaign story. There's a lot to like here. Next to that, we have Imperial Assault, which is sometimes regarded, this is Descent 2nd edition. Imperial Assault is kind of regarded as a Star Wars version of Descent 2.5. Because I was waiting to get through my Descent campaign, I haven't actually played Imperial Assault. Imperial Assault also has a miniatures war game in here that some people think is really good, and some people who I think are used to playing Warhammer think is too simplistic. I also don't know about that one. Okay, here we have Defenders of the Realm. Defenders of the Realm is the Ameritrash sibling to Pandemic. If you said, okay, I like Pandemic, but I want there to be a lot more theme and a lot more randomness, you would have Defenders of the Realm. The art is unbelievably old school, kind of 80s fantasy artwork. I'm not wild about that. There's a lot of dice rolling that can really mess you up, but it's also fun. Miniature quality for the hero miniatures, the player characters, is terrible. Terrible. They did a kind of a new version of this with a post-apocalyptic theme called Defenders of the Last Stand, which I've heard is better, but it's kind of the same thing as Arkham Horror here. I have this. Do I want another version of this, even if it's a better version of this? I don't know. There are a bunch of expansions that I keep eyeing for this one, but they're kind of expensive for what you get, so I haven't got them. We have Arcadia Quest. Arcadia Quest is one of my favorite games. It may be my favorite American-style game in the collection. It is a competitive dungeon crawl with a campaign where each player, up to 4 players, plays a different guild of adventurers, and you draft the adventurers at the beginning of the game, and you buy equipment for them, and you take them around achieving different objectives, which are broken into PvE, which is a multiplayer online game term, which means player versus engine, where you're fighting the monsters that are in the dungeon, and PvP objectives, which is player versus player, where you're fighting the other guilds. You usually have to do a mix of both things in order to win the level. It's really fun. There have been 2 expansions to it. I haven't got far enough into this campaign to be able to justify buying more, but I want to because it's a blast. Highly recommended. Then over here, I don't know if we can actually see this on the camera, and I'm so contorted that I can't look, but this is the Temple of Elemental Evil, a Dungeons & Dragons board game. It's very D&D light. It's cooperative. It's kind of roguelike in that it's a randomly generated level each time. I quite like it. I wish there was more character advancement, and I really don't know how I feel about the heavy timer aspect of it. I like being able to work my way through dungeons systematically rather than being hurried along semi-arbitrarily, and this definitely does that. Okay. Not pictured. I also have Star Realms, and I have some Dice Masters, and obviously D&D, but I wouldn't consider that a board game. You've made it through the entire collection. I don't know how you did it. I don't know how I did it, but thank you for coming along. That's it. That's the end. I'm going to stop now and try and breathe and drink water and live to blather on another day.